Good evening everyone and welcome along to League of Europe. We are here on F1 2021. It is of course Season 7 Division 1, round number 10 of the Championship as we take in the Belgian Grand Prix from the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. My name is James Hay, going to be taking you to the stream as always on a Saturday night, and joining me in the commentary box is the four-time League of Europe F1 champion, and of course it is NSX Montana. Montana, how are you doing?
Good evening, I'm doing very well. Just multitasking with F1 that is still going on at the moment. I think we won't spoiler anything for people watching that might be not tuning into F1. And looking forward to a spicy Belgium race. Very
spicy Belgium race. At least we're going to get 22 laps of the Grand Prix here, of course, no matter what conditions will be obviously partaken in the race, obviously. But we will get 22 laps of racing, which is very good indeed. And as I say, hopefully we can bring you up to speed on what's happening in F1. Currently, Mick Schumacher is going to the hospital. Apparently he's been taken to the medical helicopter for scans. So hopefully Mick Schumacher will be fine, will be fit to race tomorrow. If not, then, of course, the drivers you would imagine will be down to 19 on the grid. Anyways, that's real life F1. Here in the sim racing world, Justas leads the way in the championship, of course, on 156 points. Campbell in second on 107, and Connor in third on 82. And to reminder, of course, what happened last week in Australia, Justas took his third win in 5 races last week. Connor, of course, finished in second, Verstappen there in third, and of course, Verstappen, as a result, has overtaken Nathan for 4th position as well in the championship. He's on 65 points, Nathan in 5th on 63, Jensen in 6th on 57, Yildirim in 7th on 51, Pease there in 8th on 48, he had a really good race last week, Neo in 9th on 46, and Izza in 10th on 42. And obviously Montana, looking at those standings, Justas nearly holding a 2-race advantage over Campbell. The form clearly with him, I think, at this stage of the season.
Yeah, he looks unbeatable with the consistency as well, not just the speed. So unless he makes 2 or 3 big errors, he seems to be pretty safe. But we've seen Connor's pace and also Campbell's pace at the beginning of the season, so them two now just need to deliver each race and get those points, get the wins to gain the points, to have a chance and put pressure on Justas. Because as it stands now, he just can get another couple of podiums and he's fine. Doesn't really need to risk too much. And he also seemed like that in the last couple of races, just controls, not too many risks. And if he just keeps doing that, he's looking very good for the title.
Yeah, he is looking very good for the title. I'm looking at last season's race as well. He actually didn't start last season in Belgium. Of course, you took that win that day, Montana. So obviously a lot to live up to, I think, for the guys here, of course, in Season 7. Running through the constructor standings as well, I'm just going to get them up on my end. It is Mercedes leading the way on 172 points. Ferrari in second on 168. Only 4 points separating the top 2 in the constructors, very tight indeed. AlphaTauri in third on 139, Alpine in fourth on 128, Red Bull there in fifth on 109, that's Alfa Romeo in sixth on 78, McLaren in seventh on 57, Aston Martin in eighth on 34, along with Haas also on 34, and Williams in 10th on 22 points. And obviously, Montana, just looking at those standings, of course, we're about to get going, I think. Mercedes holding a 4-point lead over Ferrari. It is going to be quite close, I think, as the season goes on for the constructors, certainly.
Yeah, and it's about the point scoring of the second drivers. We've got Justas, Campbell and Connor at the top with those 3 teams, AlphaTauri also. And then it's just about how the second driver can deliver. Rudy has lost Ferrari some points in the last couple of races. Campbell for Mercedes actually, and Jensen for AlphaTauri, so they need to step up. And if they do that, get a couple of double podiums, it can change quite quickly.
Yeah, they can change quite quickly, definitely, and obviously around a track like Belgium, things can and probably will happen in terms of the action here. Of course, it's the longest track on the F1 calendar. Of course, not the speediest F1 circuit, of course, that of course being Jeddah, and knowing the issues that's happening in real life at the minute for that track, who knows, it might be the final time we actually have that on the F1 calendar. But Belgium, of course, 19 turns, I should say, waiting the drivers out on track, as of course we take in the 7-kilometre circuit at the most historic circuit, or one of the most historic circuits, of course, on the F1 calendar, here at the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. Max Verstappen, of course, took the win in 2021. That is, of course, after 2 laps worth of racing. We are going to get 10 times that here tonight. We're going to get 22 laps of racing, no matter the conditions. Hopefully, it is going to be a really good night's worth of racing. And just to bring up to speed as well, Haas have just released an update about Mick Schumacher. Mick Schumacher apparently is physically in a good condition, and he's going to be flown by helicopter to hospital for further precautionary checkups. So, really good news to hear. horrible, horrible accident, and I think that just comes to show the actual nature of the Saudi circuit.
Yeah, it's a dangerous circuit, which also makes it exciting probably as a driver, and quite satisfying when you nail it. But if things go wrong, they go wrong quite heavily, as you've seen. But yeah, just shows how safe Formula One is, that you can just impact with over 200k straight into a wall without getting too badly damaged. So yeah, glad he's okay, and glad we're past that in the calendar.
Yeah, definitely so, and I'm looking at the blog that I've got up as well. Apparently they're deep cleaning the circuit as well, which is why there's a lengthy delay. So perhaps, while that delay happens, you can watch the full qualifying that we have, of course, and maybe even the full race here in Belgium for Liga Europe Division 1. Of course, you took the win last season, Montana. Just as a track on this game, Belgium is one of the most historic tracks, and it really provides some great action, especially on the run down the Kemmel Straight, and even I've seen moves around the outside of the bus stop chicane. So hopefully that's going to be repeated again tonight.
Yeah, we should see a couple of overtakes. Obviously, there's going to be a huge DRS train, which is as a driver, it's the biggest pain you can imagine in league racing. But yeah, the setups will be hugely important. I know someone was running a low down for setup. And yeah, we'll see how that splits up. Still waiting for a wet race, and James, I have the feeling this one is going to be really wet.
This one's going to be really wet. I have a feeling that might, to be honest, and looking obviously at the conditions we've had all dry races. I think there's something in the waters maybe that Verstappen has put into the lobby settings and obviously put in custom weather instead of dynamic weather, and that is why obviously we haven't had any wet races so far. But this around here, Belgium, is such a changeable track in terms of the conditions. One sector you could be completely dry, the next sector you could be completely wet, and of course, we'll have to wait and see what everyone is going to be happening out on track in terms of the conditions. Certainly what is going to be happening in terms of that as well. As it does look pretty overcast going into the qualifying session here, of course. 18 drivers about to do battle around the 7-kilometre circuit, of course, here in qualifying. And it should be a really good night's worth of racing, I think. But obviously, with it being overcast conditions, I wouldn't be surprised if the majority of guys go on a set of mediums first and then transition to the softs if it's going to dry up. And obviously the track is going to come into play as the session goes on.
Yeah, quite hard to see. It looks like it's dry-ish, but I don't know if there's rain announced, so judging by people not rushing out of the pits yet, although we might have loaded in a bit earlier than them, we'll have to see if they're in a hurry, because if they are, it might start raining, which can happen here. We're already seeing Rocco putting on mediums, Neo putting on mediums, not quite deciding yet. Looks like it should be dry for a couple of minutes at least. I think the sun is just coming out, so I think we should be fine for at least qualifying. But maybe there's some rain waiting. Still haven't given up on that. But yeah, people now rushing out the pits, so I don't know.
And the sun's just came out as well now out on track, so I think that's a clear indication that it's not going to be rain conditions out on track, at least for this part of the qualifying session. But obviously drivers going out to the mediums indicates to us certainly that it's going to be a dry session. Jensen, of course, first man now out on track. Jensen has had a relatively good season. Of course, he scored more points than he actually did last season already here in Season 7. And Jensen is one of these drivers who I think absolutely excels off a track like this. He's in the AlphaTauri, of course. How do you rate his chances coming in tonight? Because he should be up there.
Well, I've said that a couple of times this season already. He should be up there every single time because he has the pace, but just doesn't put it together in the right ways, makes a couple of mistakes in the races. He still scores good points, but I think he wants and he can do more than that. And on a track like this, give him a quali position of top 4 and he'll be in there.
Yeah, definitely. So I think Jensen, obviously, in terms of qualifying, he has been up there. He's been flickering on and off, I think, in terms of the pace so far this season. And he hasn't really delivered the performances that we might necessarily see in the actual race. Qualifying is strong, race not so strong. And I think we could see Jensen perhaps put in a very good performance here tonight. Never know, I might predict him for top 3 in the race. Who knows how this qualifying session, though, is going to go in Belgium. But is Jensen, though, the first man onto a lap? And Jav apparently has said we're going to have the first wet race of the season, apparently, which is going to be very interesting indeed. And that's why you'd imagine drivers will go all for sort of soft compounded size in qualifying as Jensen now runs down into the source hairpin, coming through turn number 1. And of course, in towards turns 2 and 3 on the run down this famous hill, of course, where we saw Perez try to go side by side, of course, a couple of years ago, and then that full wide scenario coming through a Rouge. That's Radion actually coming through turn number 3, and then through the right hand of turn number 4 on the run down the Kemmel straight with the Dutch flags flying off the left hand side. Jensen might not be too coy about that though. Coming through the first sector, 30.2 through the first sector, exactly where you want to be. Just runs wide slightly on the curb through 5, through 6, and now through coming through the common chicane at turn 7 on the run down into Bruxelles corner at turn number 8, and Jensen really taking the wide on. That's too wide, getting caught on the curb, and that comes through the right hand of turn number 8, and then through No Name at turn 9, formerly known of course as X corner as it's known in real life. Jensen not opting to take the esports line either. You can run on the grass on the right hand side. Now coming through halfway through the lap, coming through Pouon, and then in towards the next part, I think it's the Campus chicane if I'm not mistaken, we're coming to, or the Fania chicane, one of the two. Jensen coming through the left and the right and left, and then in towards Campos and Stavolo. It's looked very positive, I've got to say, from Jensen so far. He's attacking the lap. 114 flat though, not really a good middle sector. He will improve as the session goes on, as we now come all the way down and towards Blanchimont, of course. Going to be really interesting to see how Jensen, of course, will excel out on track, and if he does excel, how will he set up in this qualifying run as he now comes through the right-hander of the final couple of corners, and then in toward the bus stop chicane of turn 18, and then through the left-hander of turn 19. Jensen has looked quite quick on this lap. It's a 42, I think. This lap is going to be Jensen to the line, 42.5. We should see lap times in the 41s, I think, though.
Yeah, speaking of excelling, Excel, Neo and Validated, and a couple of guys on laps. No one opting for slipstream yet, but first 41.9 only from Justas. So wet setups obviously coming into play, and that might play a big part in the quali order as well, as Packer goes second. So now it's really gambling with a setup, and you can be high up in qualifying, struggling in the race, or the other way around, and you kind of have to find a compromise that works for you.
Yeah, definitely so. Jav, by the way, in the comments section has said that he's going to try and keep us updated on F1 if needs be. I have just seen that the session's going to be starting in around a minute's time in real life. So there is the update currently. And Mick Schumacher has been transferred to King Fahd Armed Forces Hospital for caution injectors. Yulgrim comes in with a lap. 41.5 in the Alpine. That's an absolute blistering lap.
Yeah, he's always quick around here. I don't know how he does it, but he finds the pace. And from the other favourites, Campbell, 40-1, and Connor's gone for a wet setup. Yeah, Connor's with a wet setup, definitely, judging by his top speed and the practice with it. So let's see. Oh, really risky with the curves, but yeah, again, Jensen not getting clean his first lap in the bottom of the soft runners so far, and the medium runners, I don't know why they exactly went out of mediums if it's a wet race. So it's pretty much just one wasted quali run. But we'll see how that develops. Connor just don't want to touch that inside curve and Pouon, so manages that nicely. And I think it's the Fancy chicane, right?
I think it's the Fancy chicane. I always forget this part of the circuit, to be honest.
Yeah, I think so. And then it's the newly named Campos corner here, and then it's Stablo. And let's see, a third. You want to aim for a low 30. Oh. You what? Okay, I think he's on for quite a good lap, but we'll see.
I should be running a wet setup, by the way. 13.2 in the middle sector. Cries out to me he's running a dry setup at the minute. He's coming in towards the final couple of corners. We'll see how he handles the bus stop chicane. Packer just going off to the right-hand side there, off his lap, of course. Connor into the bus stop chicane. Picture perfect through the final corner. He could trouble Yulbeam for pole at the minute. To the line, 41.6. He's only a tenth of a second off. And if that lap was on a wet setup, Connor's got serious pace.
Yeah, it is on a wet setup. He lost so much time in the last sector. And also in the first sector, he's 2/10 of what he can do. So, yeah, that's looking spicy. And yeah, we've got Julien, Connor, Justas. Yeah, not that surprising. And Nathan also invalid on his lap, so cut some corners relentlessly, definitely. Oh, and he crashed into the pit lane, but gets away with it. Lucky boy.
Very lucky indeed. Fleddy, I think, is on a lap, if I'm not mistaken, coming to the bus stop chicane. I was right on board with them through the middle sector. 14.6 through the middle sector. Fleddy struggling on this lap. He now comes to the line, 43.1, and he's only 2/10 quicker than Rocco and Dylan. I think Fleddy's just finding it a little bit difficult, I think, on that first lap. Could have made a mistake in the first sector. He will obviously improve as the session goes on, but it's Yildirim Mad on top, Connor in second, Justas in third. Nearly 8 minutes of qualifying gone, and 8 minutes of qualifying gone here, And Q2 has just resumed with under 5 minutes ago as well in real life, so we'll try and keep you up to date on that. As I think the next man to set a lap will be Izza. He's coming through the middle sector. Of course, about Izza, famously, he has just been kicked out of PSGL F3 for multiple lag warnings. Haven't seen much of that here, obviously in LOE this season from him, and Izza has been quite consistent in terms of pace in some races, so he should be towards the middle to lower end of the field, I would think.
Yeah, I think this track might suit him as well. Obviously, he's also lagging here a little bit, but probably not that badly. And everyone is too lazy to report him. I can speak from experience. So he just gets away with it season after season, which is good for him. And if there are no incidents, he's allowed to stay, of course. But yeah, seems like no one is on the lap right now, but he's definitely one to keep an eye on.
Let's run on board with them then in towards turn number 1 at the Source hairpin. Of course, he flies through the corner in 3rd gear at around 60 mile an hour, and now on the run down in towards a Rouge and Rayon, where he can pick up in excess of 180, 190 mile an hour, taken flat out, coming through a Rouge, then Rayon, and then in towards the Camel Straight, where of course you can gain, as Marine has been disqualified from the session for blocking the pit lane. Not sure what that's about. That's on the pit exit, I think, as Jeroen actually has retired. Out on track as well, I believe.
I'm confused.
Very strange.
I've done that as well. It's so easy to just slow down to let someone through on the pit lane exit, and then you get disqualified. So yeah, it happens to the best as Izza backs out of his lap, it seems like. Yes, definitely so. And Jensen invalidates. What was that? Turn 1, the last corner. What?
That must have been coming through. Yeah, I thought that might have been the last corner. Bus stop chicane, perhaps. He's picked up an invalidation, or the exit of Blanchimon. Don't know. He's obviously not on a lap. 32.3. He's more than 2 seconds down, according to that first sector, anyways. But you'll be mad on top. Connor in second. Justas in third. Pease is on the lap. He had very good pace, of course, in Australia last week. Can he try and rectify that, of course, here tonight? Coming through Lecom, coming through turn number 7. He's just invalidated. As I go straight on board with him, he's invalidated. So I think the pressure is immediately being put on Pease. Hopefully, 2 weeks in a row, he can try and deliver. As looking at, I've just lost my train of thought. Go on.
Justas, I think Justas and Campbell both in the first sector. Justas 30.1, what about Campbell 30.1 as well. So they're quite equal. So let's keep an eye on them, what they do, continuing this lap. Justas a car ahead of them. So that's why it's probably the worst corner in the whole calendar. So just a lot of suffering.
Nice.
And this one is a bit weird. Taking the esports line though, so credits for doing that. Lovely line. Campbell also committing to it. Love to see it. And now let's see what they can do through the second sector.
Yeah, Campbell, sorry, coming through Puon. Justas also coming through now the Fanning chicane, pretty much around the same parts of the circuit. So we'll run above with Justas first, try and get to Campbell before he reaches the end of the lap as well. Justas has looked very, very wide, and he runs massively wide coming through Campos, and that was just a setup, I think, from the middle sectors. Campbell is also invalidated just before that.
Yep. So both of them not delivering on the second runs, and now with a setup you're not used to drive in the dry, that's going to be one sketchy final run. As Julrim also invalidates, so bottles are everywhere pretty much.
Yeah, it's so difficult, I think, to obviously get consistent lap times in. Yildirim, by the way, without that invalidation, it was still going to be 500s down through the middle sector. We've got Neo coming to the end of the lap as well. He's in the Red Bull at the minute, of course, coming through the bus stop chicane at turns 18 and 19. The bus stop chicane, of course, famously changed over the years since the late 90s. Neo coming through the final corner on the run to the line. 41.9, there or thereabouts in terms of the pace of Justas and Campbell, splits the pair. And I think we're also going to get possible improvements further up the field. Connor is 700s up through the first sector with a 30.1, very good coming out of Lecom, and Packer also went second with those laps. So Packer went second, Connor there in third. I'm going to run above with the AlphaTauri now as he comes to the left-hander of turn number 9 at X corner, and he's going to take the esports line. No, doesn't opt to take it on the run down and towards P1 at turn number 10. We should see now Connor through the middle sector. There's a yellow flag coming through this part of the sector, and that is Izzo, I think, on an out lap. It's Ruta actually backing off. There's now Connor invalidated, and I think with Ruta just pulling off to the right-hand side, he probably would have been more focusing on that, and he just completely... I think he got put off, possibly, by the Alfa Romeo there.
Yeah, I can't really blame him, but it's just one of these things. It just distracts you that one little bit, changes your focus and your turning in point, and then you make the mistake. So Packer the only one to deliver so far in the second runs, and credit to him, he was great in Australia until he wasn't great anymore. But here he's doing quite well.
As Campbell catches the curb, sorry to cut you off, Campbell catches the curb, coming to the Fania chicane. It's not really hard into the wall. I think he's got away with that, to be honest. And now the Mercedes will flick the car around, and he's got back going again, which is good to see. So Campbell just got too much of the curb. I think he overran the curb too much. He obviously rode the middle of the curb, coming through the left-hander there. And he was looking good. He was a 10th up on his lap before that point, and Campbell obviously biting the bullet hard, I think, there. 42.1, his teammate Verstappen just goes ahead of him and pops himself into 8th on a multiple run on that set of soft compound tyres. And that's a bit like real life, what we've been seeing in Saudi Arabia in qualifying. Drivers tended to go 1 lap on, 1 lap off, cool down lap, and then go for your 1 lap on, and I think that's what Verstappen and Campbell were aiming to do.
Yeah, also, they can just take enough fuel, so if they invalidate one run, they can take a sector or a whole lap to cool the tyres down and go again. As you don't need the tyres anyway in a race, so can deal with that quite nicely, as you've seen something. Is a 30.114 coming through the first sector. That is what I've seen. Purple out of everyone, I think, through the first sector. So we'll see what the Indonesian man can do. He's got it all wrong coming in towards turn number 9. And I think on the run down in towards turn number 10, we should see is try and improve on his lap. He misses the curb, though, coming through P1 slightly. Nice run through the exit, though. And now comes in toward the Fania chicane. It's Yildirim on top, Packer in second, Connor in third at this moment in time. We're getting updates as well for Real Life F1, which I'll bring you towards the end of the session. But is now coming through it more immediately in towards Stavilo. He's flying on this lap, I've got to be honest. 13.5 through the middle sector. Not like the likes of Connor and Packer. He's off in the middle sector, but is good. And I think that all spawned from that little slight mistake. Norris, Ricciardo, Zhu, Schumacher, and Stroll are the 5 drivers out in real life. Everyone else has got through, and I'll try and bring you the leaderboard soon about that. But Izza coming into the bus stop chicane. And he comes through the final left-hander of turn 19, and on the run to the line, it's not a bad lap at all, actually, from Izza. To the line, he goes 4th, 41.8, not a bad lap at all. Yeah, decent lap, but the question is, does he have enough? No, he doesn't have enough time. I think that's quality over for him, but yeah, decent effort. But yeah, not quite enough to maybe stay in the top 5 at the end. But we see people going out quite early now. Jensen on lap, 30.5, so around the same as Izza. I think the purple middle sector is just a glitch that is in the game still for some reason. But the times are really close actually, just on the high 41s, low 42s. Again, for those just tuning in, it's a bit slower lap times because we expect a wet race and different setups to be run in the dry. As Jensen is that his final run, it is. His fuel lamp is blinking. That was quite decent to the last chicane, and then he's putting in also a 0.8. Just behind his ahead of Nathan, so quite close together. And Shrewsbury already starting his final lap.
Yeah, Yildirim's coming through with Rouge and Radion as we ride on board with them. Jensen, though, going 5th to confirm the top 10 in qualifying in real life. Sainz, Leclerc, Perez, Verstappen, Alonso in P5. Bottas, Gasly, Magnussen, Ocon and Russell are the top 10. And Yildirim is 900s down through the first sector, coming through the Lecombe chicane. So that comes through turn 7. There is a spinner or somebody preparing up for their lap in the final sector. I think that might be a Williams, a Fleddy perhaps. I think he might be preparing up for a lap. Yildirim, though, is going to get a little bit of cheeky slipstream, I think, coming out of P1. Oh, on the run down towards P1, he's not because he's just invalidated.
Yeah, unlucky there. Packer now through the first sector, looking quite quick. 0.1 again. Who's the next one? I think Connor's the next one. He's down on a straight line of speed, so he must run some kind of setup. And he does, yeah, also 0.1. But now, oh, he hugs the curb. Oh, he's going for it. He's going full send. And that opens up the corners here nicely for him. Well, how's Packer doing? So Packer also not taking the esports line. Which is quite easy to do if you're on the wheel and he runs wide, and that's his lap gone down the toilet. And Connor, just stays within track limits so far. He was quite good through P1 in practice, absolutely sending it, almost flat. So again, he gets a distraction in the Fender chicane, but let's see if he can manage that. If he does, so close to track limits. Oh, this is fire. This lap is insane. If he can just stay within the limits here and get a decent exit, it's gonna be pole.
He's a 10.5 up in the middle sector coming out of Stavolo, and Connor could be landing himself a possible provisional pole. He has got a bit of slipstream though ahead of him. That's Jensen giving him slipstream. This is going to even exacerbate the lap time even further. This, I think, could be a 41.3 from Connor as he now comes in towards the final couple of corners. We'll see into the bus stop chicane, through the turn 18, through turn 19. A little bit slow on the exit actually into the corner. Verstappen hasn't managed to get a lap in, and Connor to the line, 41.3. You may as well put the national lottery numbers on. Connor out on top, Yildirim then second, Packer in third. That lap time might be difficult to beat.
Yeah, but Justas isn't having none of it. Goes purple in the first sector, I believe, with a low 0.1. Jerubim also sending it with also a low 0.1 in the first sector, so people still haven't finished it. Campbell, though, is finishing his lap, and this one is going to be one of the most important laps of the championship, and it's not going to be enough. P7 only, and I don't think it's going to stay there.
And Justas just invalidated coming through No Name as well, so Justas is not going to be improving. That's good for Campbell. He's going to be starting ahead of him at least. Neo was 800 up, coming through in toward Blanchimont. He's at the exit of Stavolo. Connor the lead in the way. Yildirim in second. Packer there in third. I think Yildirim is second coming through. Into the final couple of corners. He's 10.5 up in the middle sector. We'll cut to him in a second, but we're right on board with Neo coming into the bus stop chicane. We obviously will get more improvement as the session goes on. I think Reuter is coming around the final corner as well. He is just on the run to the line, and he goes 15th with that lap. Neo to the line, goes 4th. Good lap time from him. Yildirim though was run out of fuel coming through the bus stop chicane. And that is unfortunate, and that costs him as Nathan goes second. Really good lap time from Nathan. I think that might be the end of qualifying, if I'm not mistaken. Is Packer on a lap? I think he is.
Yeah,
coming through the left-hander of Blanchimont on the run up towards the bus stop chicane, through the right-hander of 17, and then into the bus stop chicane at 18 and 19. This is going to be a full send from the American if I've ever seen one. He's very slow on the exit, though. That has cost us time, and he's spun the car round. And that is... could you call it amateurish, perhaps?
Yeah, you call it Packer in a nutshell. Yeah, he absolutely sent it, so I don't think he was up by that much. I don't think he would have improved his position that far. Just has to be careful not to get disqualified like other people have done. But I think that's quali over, and this is now a huge opportunity for Connor to gain points in the championship. With the wet race, hard to overtake, Campbell and Justas, 10th and 11th.
10th and 11th indeed. We'll run through the grid order now, and it's Connor out on top by 10.5 from Nathan there in second. Yildirim in third. If he didn't run out of fuel, potentially could have gone second ahead of Nathan. Packer there in fourth, Neo in fifth, Izza there in sixth, Jensen in seventh, Rocco in eighth. Good qualifying session from him. Both McLarens in fact improved from their medium runs. Dylan there in ninth, Campbell ran off the top 10. Crucial, he starts in the top 10. Justas doesn't. I think they'll, obviously with it being a wet race, it doesn't really matter. Justas there in 11th, 11th, Verstappen in 12th, Fleddy in 13, Pease in 14, Reuter down in 15, didn't get a representative lap time in at all, and Jeroen, Rudy and Marijn didn't. Marijn, of course, disqualified from the session. Jeroen and Rudy didn't actually get lap times in. Top 10 for the shootout in real life has just begun, so we should be seeing some really good action there as well in real life. However, of course, if you want to keep on board with us here in Division 1, you can do that as well. But at the end of that qualifying session, very, very good and very, very close indeed. What do the conditions do at the start of the race? And it's absolutely tipping down, and it's full wets.
Let's go. Oh, now we're going to see a couple of safety cars as well, I believe. This track is probably one of the trickiest tracks on the calendar in the wet conditions. And it just takes so much bravery, you know, Rouge and Pouin and Blanchimont to find the limit in the wet. And we probably won't see the most exciting race or the most exciting overtakes, but finally a wet race is a decent change. And it's going to be important for the championship for some guys to deliver, although the conditions and the safety cars might be tricky.
Now, the fact of the matter is, has drivers prepared for the full wet race? Have they only been practicing in dry conditions? I have a feeling the majority of them might have. I know you mentioned earlier that you and Connor were obviously practicing together, running wet setups as well. And that expectation, I think, was clearly prone, I think. But here in qualifying, anything... after qualifying, anything can now happen, of course, in the race. We should see, though, I think, a really good race. I'm not going to say it's going to be race of the season, because I don't think it will be, but I am prepared to be completely honestly ridiculed if it turns out to be the case. However, the formation lap is just beginning, and as you can probably tell by everyone, the blue wall tyres are on, and that is a set of full wet compounder tyres. Remember, of course, the full wets can dispose of 75 litres of water a second, compared to the inters, of course. They may run like a middle-of-the-road tyre between the dries and the full wets. They only dispose of 25 to 30 litres of water per second. So, in theory, we should be seeing a dry line early on in the race, you would imagine, and that spray is going to be so difficult to contend with, as Rudy has been disqualified from the session. I'm not sure if he even got going in qualifying, and hopefully that is not going to be a nuisance, obviously, for Marine, who's the man behind him. Hopefully Rudy does take control of his car and obviously refocuses his attention on the screen in front of him and not on the Formula 1.
Yeah, and once again, Rudy needs to score some points for Ferrari in the constructors, don't forget about that. As well as the two Mercedes are quite down, whereas Jensen P7 can play the wingman of Connor, probably won't do so in a dramatic fashion as he's not in an S6, but yeah, also interesting to keep an eye on the constructors. Let's see if the track is going to dry up at any point to the interstage, but I'm sure we'll see a couple of DNFs as this track is just so tricky in a way.
It is so tricky in the wet indeed. I really like to be honest and say I'm glad I'm not out on track, to be honest, at this point, because I'd probably end up spinning at lap 1, probably cause a safety car, and we don't want that to happen like I did in Zandvoort in the Formula 2 cars, of course. But Conor out on top, Nathan there in second, Yildirim in third. It's going to be quite interesting. We've got drivers necessarily up toward the top end of the field. They're quick in the dry, but they're not that quick in the wet. Packer, Neo, Izzer, I'm immediately looking at 4th, 5th and 6th. I don't think they're that strong on a set of wet compounder tyres, so we should see them. I think they're going to fall down the field early on, and then the likes of Jensen and Rocco, who more excel really in these conditions, to pardon the pun there, they excel in these conditions, and they're in 7th and 8th. I think they'll probably get the jump on the guys ahead of them.
Yeah, and now the question is anyone running on a dry setup? Because then, oh lord, that's going to be a difficult one. You don't want to run low downforce on this track in a way. So we have to keep an eye on that. As well, tire overheating might be an issue if you just overdrive it or have the wrong setup. But yeah, it should be an interesting race. Probably more from a strategic point of view, but looking forward to that. What's your top 3, James?
Top 3 for me, I'm going to go Nathan for the win. Sorry, Connor. I'm going to go, yeah, I'm going to go Nathan for the win. I'm going to go Connor for second. And for third, I'm going to go for Campbell.
Okay, I'm going to go Connor, Drew Bream, Campbell, actually.
Interesting. We'll see what prediction comes right. If any of those predictions get right, you can probably almost a bag of Haribo's, I think, after this race. But the final cars are now rejoining on the grid. Everyone is now poising onto the grid, and the 5 red lights are about to go out here in Belgium. It is round number 10 on the championship here in League of Europe Division 1, and it is lights down, away we go. Connor gets a very good start. Nathan is going to be under pressure from Yildirim on the run down towards someone. Rudy has not started, so Rudy clearly not even the session, as the Alfa Romeo of Izzer dives it down the inside of Neo. There is that yellow flag, of course, for Rudy, but Connor and Nathan are side by side, coming out of turn number 1, and Connor just holds the lead from Nathan in second. They run down in towards the Rouge and Rally on the side by side, certainly. Rudy is being disqualified from the session. Why even turn up, to be honest, and put your car on the grid? I do not know, as Campbell and Justas are going side by side up the hill. It's nearly 4 wide, and Fleddy has crashed coming through Rouge and Rally on that could deploy a safety car to VSC. VSC deployed, and Justas was side by side with Dylan and that. Campbell and Pease, I think, were also involved in a side by side bit coming through a Rouge and Radion, and it was nearly 4 wide coming out of a Rouge and Radion. But Connor leads the way, Nathan in second, Yildirim in third. VSC is out, Fleddy has crashed, I think, by himself on the curb coming out of a Rouge and Radion, and that is him out of the race and deploys the VSC for the first time.
Yep, just neutralise the race a bit awkward when you're side by side with someone after VSC, when the VSC gets deployed. So they had to sort themselves out. But Justas crucially 2 positions out of Campbell, who had a shocking start. And Dylan also slipped on the order quite a bit, but saved Connor a little bit from an attack from Nathan. Although I don't think Nathan would have been quite close enough. But yeah, just calms things down a little bit before it gets hectic again.
Yeah, it does indeed. Connor setting the nice pace as well. Obviously, all drivers are going to stick to their delta time. While we've got the VSC out, Sainz, Leclerc, Perez, Ocon, Alonso, Verstappen, Gasly, Bottas, Magnussen and Russell are the top 10. Max Verstappen apparently complaining that he's having no grip on the tyres in qualifying in real life. So that is why Verstappen down in 6th at the minute, looking good for the Spaniard as we get back under racing here. And Packers right on the back of Yildirim. Nathan right on the back of Connor as well underneath the restart, but I don't think they're going to risk the moves in these conditions. You see Wouter and Jeroen passing Verstappen and Pease respectively as Nathan has got the outside line in toward the bus stop chicane. The Red Bull and the AlphaTauri needs to squeeze them onto the grass there slightly, but it's really good racing and a bit of a Constantino effect into the bus stop chicane. And Packer now dives it down the inside of Yildirim, doesn't get the move done, but everyone with a very clean restart, and Connor leads the way. Nathan in 2nd, Yildirim in 3rd, Packer in 4th at the end of lap 1. Rocco right on the back of Neo down in towards turn 1. I think everyone is just keen to try and run side by side. In the background, that was Verstappen and Pease on the outside line. Pease will get that move done through into P14. Pease is through down in towards turn 1 and gets the move done. Verstappen, he's into 14. Very good restart there under the VSC. Connor leads the way. Nathan in 2nd, Yildirim in 3rd. Packer's losing a bit of time there in the dirty air, and now Yildirim perhaps could attack Nathan on the back, running down in toward the Lecombe, but I don't think he's going to get the move done. I think further down the field though, Campbell is going to run side by side with Dylan, and he thinks about going around the outside and toward the Lecombe. Even in these conditions, Dylan around the outside. Beautiful move by Campbell. That is insane. Campbell through, and he's into P10. Who said you couldn't overtake in wet conditions around here? Izzer is off into the grass doing a bit of lawn mowing. Spee is across the track as well, and Campbell will dive it down the inside of him. So Campbell now down, now through into P9, is down into P10. I think he got caught by himself coming out of the com because those tyres look absolutely gone with the grass on them still.
Yeah, Dylan also wants to have a piece of that cake, but don't want to send it into Puon. Campbell, a really good driver in the wet. Don't underestimate him, and we've just seen two quite good moves, the first one especially, as people are getting squirrely out of Puon quite a bit. Yeah.
I thought your road was going to go around the outside of Ruta, but there we are. Connor, though, leading the way by a second now.
Yeah, now his setup is coming into play. He's struggling in the first sector, but now he's pulling away. Nathan having a bit of issues, and Packer also looks quite squirrely. So, Packer and Nathan, two guys known for some bottling and underfueling as well, interestingly. So, yeah, I have to keep an eye on them and if they survive the whole race distance.
Jeroen right on the back of Ruta coming through Blanchimont. Nearly comes the curb actually coming through Blanchimont. Is he going to have the run now into the bus stop chicane? Pulls for the inside line, fakes the move, and Ruta stays in 12th. P's there just in behind as well in 14th, but Jeroen now in 13th as Connor with that fastest lap of the race. Of course, first sector not going to be too strong. It's more of a straight line speed first sector. Compared to the middle sector, he will have the downforce, and that is where the time is going to be gained. And in the end, even with the slipstream range, of course, slipstream range normally being around 8/10 to a second in between that, and if you're outside of that, you're pretty much good for the race, and Connor's pretty much outside of that 8/10 range, so he leads the way currently by 9/10 of a second. Nathan there in 2nd, and at the minute, obviously with no DRS in play, Nathan is struggling on the back of Connor, and Connor, with that wet setup, seemingly it looks like to me Nathan's running more of a dry setup than Connor, and Connor at the minute has got the pace and he's pulling away.
Yeah, Connor really just coming into play, stabilising the pace. Using quite a bit for your rest, but that's normal when you run a high downforce setup. But yeah, status quo, no one really overtaking at the moment. Jensen now applying a bit of pressure to Rocco, but nothing in particular, no one going for a move straight away.
Jav mentioned it as well. Verstappen went into the back of Campbell in towards someone he might have damage. Ruta has just picked up a 3-second penalty coming out of no name. It doesn't look to me though Verstappen has got visible damage, certainly on our camera angles that we're receiving. So Verstappen there in 15th doesn't look like he's got any damage. I think he's probably got away with it, and he is on the back of Pease. I think he will probably come into play later on in the race as Jeroen is right on the back of Ruta coming through the Fania chicane. Nearly goes around the outside of him, but Ruta stays in 12th. Jeroen there in 13th. The Ruta is now struggling, possibly for a little bit of grip on those tyres. I'm not sure if he had an off just before we cut to him. And now Jeroen pulls through Stavilo, going on the outside in towards Blanchimont. This is going to be job done, I think, before the corner. Or am I going to be wrong? No, your owner's going to pull along the side and gets the move done. So your own through and he's into 12th. Woods now down in 13th. He's got that 3-second time penalty, of course. Verstappen as well on the back of P's further down the field. He's going to look for the lunge in toward the bus stop chicane. Doesn't get the move done. Connor sets the fastest lap of the race out in front. And it's now 1.7 seconds. Nathan there in second. Verstappen, though, is into the pit lane. So he must have had some damage on that early pit stop. Unless he's going for inters. Because I think the rain is beginning to ease off. Is he going for inters? He is going for inters.
Yep. Yeah, the rain's definitely easing off. Spray has gone a bit, and real life qualifying just finished.
What?
And it is Perez, Leclerc, Sainz, Verstappen, Ocon, Russell, Alonso, Bottas, Gasly, Magnussen. So Perez got bloody pole position. Sainz could improve in the second run. So yeah, so now we can focus completely on this race as Woods is struggling to keep it in a straight line. So let's keep an eye on the gap between Campbell and Moraine, and if Verstappen and Moraine. And let's see if he can gain anything, and if he's going to survive a Rouge or not. Let's see. Oh, it looks sketchy. Oh, he cuts it a little bit, but maybe a 1 or 2 more laps, and then it's going to be ready. But at the moment, I don't think it's working already.
Yeah, at the minute, he's lost about a second coming out of the pit lane. He lost 5/10 just on the exit of the pit lane alone. And Verstappen, right on board with him at the minute. 17.2, it's crossover period, I think. I think Verstappen now beginning to try and pick up the speed. But coming out of no name, yeah, now it's beginning to be inters. He now catches back up, and inters certainly beginning to come into play. So it looks like it's inters. We should see drivers begin to pit in. Now, that begs the question, are we going to get inters fully in the actual race? Or are we going to see it dry up even further? Perhaps the dry conditions before the end. Normally that is the case around here, but I'm really impressed by Connor's pace. 2.5 seconds clear of Nathan. That gap was a second at the end of lap 1. Connor is flying out on track. He's got so much pace. I don't know why I put Nathan for P1, to be honest, because Connor at the minute, at this part of the race, probably going to come into pit lane this lap around. He actually stays out. Connor stays out. Nathan does as well. Yulbrim does. Packer though was in.
Oh, Neil caught the pit lane.
He has cut the pit lane slightly. Jensen and Justas are fighting side by side out the final corner there as well. Everyone is coming in behind, but clearly drivers thinking that next lap could be the time. I think, possibly, all of these guys that came into the pit lane this lap around, I think they've called it right.
Yeah, I think so. I think Connor just went the safe way, and the Inters will degrade quite quickly, so it will be hard to get them to the end. So the guys doing an extra lap, maybe gambling on that, and they obviously had a little bit of a gap, especially Connor. So he's pushing now. And it just needs to make this in-lap count. And let's see where Packer is at. Yeah, Packer is still quite far ahead. Verstappen, can he make up some positions? He probably can. Now warmed up, he's going to have a go at Ron for sure as well. But let's keep an eye on the gap between Justas and Packer to see the real pace difference.
Yeah, Packer to Justas currently 13.8 seconds. The time is obviously degrading away because Justas was running slipstream on the back of Jensen. And coming through No Name actually just gets caught out wide. It definitely looks like they're struggling on the tyres. And coming through Lecom, there's the biggest indicator there. He gains 3-4 tenths per second there, and Packer is only going to gain the time back. Could we see, perhaps, Packer in P6 position getting into the lead of the race in a lap's time? I think it's not out of the question, to be honest.
Yeah, it's not out of the question, but don't think he's getting enough on Connor and Nathan, but he might be in for a P2 here if he does everything correctly.
Oh, Nathan nearly run wide, coming out of Stavolo there as well. Yilbrim on the back of him. He is using up that ERS a good effect. Of course, drivers are beginning to not use up that ERS because obviously it's wet conditions. They're going to be saving up more than actually using it. And in these conditions, Yilbrim has to try and find some gap out of some way. As we now see the Connor into the pit lane from the lead of the race. Car number 69 is in. Nathan there in second, Yilbrim in third. They're all coming in from that sort of wet compound and tyres. Justas thought was going to continue on. He nearly cut the pit lane there, but he went too deep. As Jensen nearly collides with the wall coming into the pit lane. Look at how relatively dry the pit lane actually is. Packer, by the way, is coming through the bus stop chicane. And Connor is not out of his pit box yet. I think Connor's going to be fine. I think Packer could be out in third possibly here. Coming around the final corner. He's on the run past the line now. Connor will lead the way coming out the pit lane. There is Packer. There is Nathan. Nathan on the inside line. It's going to be extraordinarily close, and he's going to be ahead of him. him. So Packer, that undercut is absolutely brilliant, pulled off to perfection. He's now into second. Nathan on the back of him. I think Nathan is probably going to have a go down in toward the com. He uses up that EOS then to try and close into the slipstream, try and close in on Packer ahead of him. The Red Bull on the back of the Aston. Look at the closing speed. He's beginning to pick up massive amounts of speed in toward Lecom.
Nope.
Can he lunge it down the inside line? No, he doesn't choose to risk it, and that's probably the best thing to do. Connor leads the way. Packer, though, has undercut pretty much everyone.
Yeah, but is that gonna haunt him at the end of the race with the worn tyres? We'll see, especially with this twitchy setup. He's the only one underfueling as well, so I have to keep an eye on that. As people think sliding quite a bit on the Inter, so they're not working perfectly fine yet. Way better than the wet, and I think it was a good call to pit one lap earlier. And Connor just nailed it. Freshest tyres, and now Nathan needs to make move as soon as possible on the Packer.
Yeah, Connor 2.4 seconds clear of Packer, Nathan there in third. In terms of real-life qualifying, by the way, I've actually just seen the lap times between Perez and Leclerc, and there's only 200ths of a second separating first and second in qualifying. Nathan really struggling, I've got to say, though, coming out of the Fania chicane. He lost nearly a second to Packer. Packer's obviously got his tyres more warm at this point. Hits a puddle coming through Stavolo. They want to be very careful of that because it might send the car spinning and porpoising on the ground. Rocco on the back of Neo coming up the hill in towards Blanchimont, or coming into the next left-hander, of course, a Blanchimont at turn 17. Connor leading the way, though. Packer there in second, Nathan in third. Rocco on the back of Neo was looking quite close. Everything, though, has spread out pretty much like Marmite and butter, I think, at this point.
Yeah, and Justas, by pitting one up later, is behind Campbell again by quite a gap. And he's only in P10, so that's costly for him. He can afford one or two races like that, but he needs to make sure he's in there and maybe can make a few moves. Jensen didn't get held too much by Connor's pit stop, obviously the teammates. And now let's see if Packer can gain time without crashing him. Oh my god, I can't watch that. Almost losing Albo Rouge. And Nathan not looking too quick at this stage.
Tell you somebody that is looking quick, though, Verstappen on the back of Jeroen, coming out of a Rouge and Radion, on the run down the Kemmel straight. Jeroen is going to have to try and defend to the inside line. I don't think Verstappen, though, is going to be tempted into the move. It looked quite close on the run out of turn number 1. He doesn't get the move done. I will correct myself, by the way, in what I just said there, in case you missed what I said. Marmite on toast, I should have said, not Marmite on butter. Connor leads the way. Packer there in second, Nathan in third, Yildirim in fourth. No wonder people think I'm weird in commentary. Neo in fifth, Rocco in 6th, Campbell is a Jensen and Justas running off the top 10, Jeroen 11th, Verstappen in 12th, Dylan Pease, Bruta and Mariah are the 16 drivers currently going out on track. And for Campbell, actually, in P7, he's also gone on that undercut strategy. He's pulled it off really good to perfection, ahead of Justas, ahead of Jensen, crucial for him in the championship, but he's going to be losing all sorts of points at the minute to Connor.
Yeah, Connor at the moment looking like the big gainer, and if he doesn't make any mistakes or any crazy things happen, he's looking settled in for the victory, but you never know what happens in a wet spa. But yeah, Packer, Nathan losing time, and I'll tell you what, I don't think Packer is going to make it to the end. He's just sliding everywhere, and looking on his steering wheel, he's still 0.4 down, I think, on the fuel, so 0.4 in the minus. And around Belgium, it's close, but you can't say fuel, but it's going to be tight.
It is going to be tight indeed. I would assume certainly the likes of Packer, the likes of Verstappen, who've already came into the pit lane once, possibly going to have to pit again, because the Inters can last normally, I say, around 17 laps around here. And Packer came in, I think, on lap 5, so he might be okay. It depends on how heavy he is on those actual tyres. Coming through with Rouge and Radio, and again a little bit twitchy, much better that time around. Here comes Nathan, though, on the back of Packer. Packer, I think, is a sitting duck, running down in toward the com. The inside line is going to be there for Nathan to try and go down into, and I think Nathan is going to take that by the scruff of the neck and dives it to the inside line. Nothing moved there by Nathan. He's into second. Izzer on the back of Campbell as well, getting quite close in towards the com, but doesn't get the move done. But Connor now leading the way. Nathan now up to second, Packer in third, and you could have probably seen that from turn 1, to be honest. Nathan getting through on Packer, Yildirim now on the back, and it just seems to me Packer possibly could be overextending his tyres slightly. He's obviously underfueling the car as well, and that plus high degradation is going to really cost you towards the end, and that's why I think he'll probably come into the pit lane as there's a raindrop blocking the Alpine coming through the middle sector there. Thank you very much, Codemasters, for actually getting rid of that. Packer there in third, Yildirim in fourth, and yeah, that raindrop just didn't want to go off the camera lens, I think.
Yeah, it's a bit buggy in the spectator cam. There's a trick to remove them in the teapot cam, but I'm not gonna reveal that to the public. But there's a trick that you can remove all the raindrops and the spray from this game on PlayStation. £5 on PayPal if you want to know, people. Then we see, Nathan still losing time. Packer actually didn't defend. He went to the inside, then went to the outside again. So is he trying to save fuel behind Nathan, or is he just thinking Nathan has got the pace to catch up to Connor? But it's a bit weird.
I think Nathan made a mistake there coming out of Stavolo. It's now 4.5 seconds, the gap. It was 3.7. And Nathan is actually just purely losing his time, and he's losing his tyres already, or he just simply doesn't have the pace as Rudy leaves the session. I don't know why he's just left the session now, to be honest, considering he obviously turned up and didn't even move a yard, both in qualifying and the race. It's disappointing. Obviously, real life F1 takes priority over a league race, I guess. Connor leads the way, Nathan in second, Packer there in third, Yildirim there in fourth, Neil should have picked up a 3-second penalty, and now he's going to have to defend off Rocco. The XL boys are going to go at it down and toward Lecom. The McLaren on the back of the Red Bull pulls to the outside line. He's going to get the car alongside as we've got Marine into the wall coming out of a Rouge and Radion. So Marine is into the wall, and that's a safety car. Safety car out on track, and I think everyone on the side of Inters, are they going to pit in and get to the end from this point? They should do.
I think most people at the front will stay out, but we'll probably see people like Verstappen and the DLMP's router going for a fresh set. Connor trying to burn fuel, so he's confident he has overfuel. That might save Packer quite a bit. Marine once again doing Haas proud in the best way. Obviously we've seen a crash in real life today. Schumi seems to be fine. And now Marina just losing it in Eau Rouge, and it's so easy to do. We saw people twitching everywhere. But now Connor's 5.6 second lead is going to be absolutely gone. And he has to build it up once again. He has to build that P9 with the penalty of Neo. And go on, James.
Yeah, I was going to say, Connor has obviously got the lead. And if he stays out, obviously he does have the lead. And he's got to build up that gap. But for me, he's got the pace. He can pull out that gap, I think, with even not really breaking sweat, to be honest. And I think Nathan is going to be under so much pressure from Packer in behind, but more especially Yildirim in behind, because I know he's quick in the inter conditions. He's there in fourth position at the minute. He's doing a good job. Whether or not, though, we get to see Yildirim getting moved on Packer remains to be seen, as we see Connor staying out. Nathan coming around the bus stop chicane, and he is, I thought we were going to come into pit lane there. But the front four have stayed out. Neo in fifth stays out. And do you know what? I think all of them are going to stay out, to be honest. Look, flicking through them. No, Jensen nearly into the pit lane. Now, Jerome, though, is in. Jerome is in to the pit lane. And I think he's the only one. And Pease also. And Ruta. So those three, Jerome, Pease and Ruta, seems to be a Jav call, I think, in the comment section there. Jerome, Pease and Ruta into the pit lane. And they're going to go for a fresh set of enters. And why wouldn't you, to be honest? Because obviously the tyres are going to go off towards the end. Are they? Actually, it's mediums. Mediums for Jerome.
Is he mad?
Ruta is going into the pit lane for a set of inters. That's surely the wrong tyre choice there for Jerome. And that's a human error, surely, on Jerome's part. And I think, just judging by him coming out the pit lane, he knows. He knows that was a wrong call. And Jerome, on a set of mediums, I don't know what to say.
If you talk to your own, you have to say that's your own mistake there. But the game obviously sometimes wants to put you on a wrong tyre, but that's why you always have to check what tyre the pit crew is putting on before the pit straight. And he's already losing traction on the bloody straight, so he's not going to enjoy it unless he knows something we don't know. But still, he probably puts it back to Inters and saved one lap on the new Inters he's going to put on. But yeah, he's not enjoying himself. Probably almost going slower than the safety car at this stage.
Yeah, I think judging by how much Pease and Ruta are going to lose, is it fair to say that they might not join on the back of the safety car because Jerome is in front of them, and if he stays on that set of mediums, with the rain, it looks like it is sort of stopping out on track. It's definitely not dry compounded tyres, you can tell that, obviously, by the time he's losing even the safety car. Jerome, though, that's a human error. It has to be a human error. He probably has selected it too many times. He's probably pressed off to the left-hand side one too many times, gone for a set of mediums instead of actually going for a set of inters, and that is why Jerome, then P13, clearly the wrong strategy, unless his Jeff is different to other Jeffs.
I think his Jeff is not Jeff, it's Jeff. So typical draft call there. But yeah, that's Ariel at his best, I would think. Track looks like it's getting a bit dry, but not that much. Do you want to put on dry tires? So yeah, he has to do another slick pit stop to get himself another set of inters.
Yeah, and it's your own fault, really, for being on those tyres. That's a nice one. Your own into P13, but is he going to come into the pit lane? We should see him go for a set of inters right on the back of him. I mean, Pease is carrying so much speed. Your own, in fact, stays out.
What?
He stays out.
He's not.
Your own stays out. Is this guy? I would say, is this guy on something? But he probably isn't. Your own in 13th. Set a medium compound tyres, unless it's going to dry up, and I can only see it this way, unless it's going to dry up in the next 5 laps or so, and he's gone to a set of mediums, the tyres are going to be completely shot by then, and actually nearly losing it to the wall. Pease has overtaken him. He's going to pick up a 5-second penalty, I think, and Pease has just gone. He said, you know what, your own fault for being on those tyres, and now Rooter down in P15, your own on that set of mediums, now flies past Pease, and back into the position of P13, and hopefully we don't get any glitches happening because of that. But your own in 13, P's in 14, he stays out. The only perceivable thing to think is, if it dries up in the next 5 laps or so, we should get dry running towards the end. But if we get to lap 16, which I think it will, and if it's still raining by then, even though it looks dry offline, I've got to be honest, just coming through like Comla, your own 11 13th, if it is, as I thought, I saw Wooten go on the wall in the background, I didn't, your own 11 13th, I can only say, if it's going to stay, if it's going to dry up in these next 5 laps, it's going to be dry towards the end. That's the only perceivable thing I can think of anyways. Otherwise, he's got absolutely no chance of winning, and he may as well retire out on track now.
Yeah, I don't know what he's thinking. The track needs to drive really within 1 or 2 laps, because he's gonna lose 20 seconds in at least 1.5 laps time. So yeah, I don't know what he's trying to achieve. Maybe he's using the size of his balls as the new downforce system of Haas, but other than that, I can't see a way for him to make this work.
Java's going to probably at you, I think, for that one in the comment section. Maybe later on if he's racing at the minute. But your own, looking over the clouds, though, as the safety car is going to be coming in this lap. Looking at the clouds, though, just over the foothills of the circuit, it does look as if it's quite sunny. And I'm literally not blathering that at all. It does look like the sun is beginning to try and come through the clouds. Anyways, Connor is the virtual Bert Marlander. He is now the virtual safety car, and he will now keep a consistent pace to keep Nathan at bay, hopefully down towards the source at turn number 1, and this is the restart. So, first half of the race has been quite underwhelming, to be honest. Second half of the race, after this safety car restart, it's probably going to be the best race of the season. Connor leads the way, Nathan and second, Packer in third. When does Connor decide to go? I think probably into the bus stop chicane as my bet to try and go. Still weaving, still trying to get heated in the tyres, and he's probably going to go on the exit of the bus stop chicane, as he now tries and brings up the power, and he's going to go now as Connor comes through the final corner on the run to the line, and look at how much time he's gained even at the final corner. Connor leads away across the line, 0.8 of a second. Rocco's got a really good start though on the back of Neo, running to the outside line in towards turn number 1. Urona's let Pease and Rooter through further down the field, and Rocco switches back coming through turn number 1 at the source, and they're going to run side by side in towards the Rouge and Radion. Rocco is not mad to go for this move, is he? He's on the outside line. Nobody's going to back out. Rocco does back out. He sees the sense, and Neo there in 5th. But look at how much pace Neo has got. Neo was so slow, and now Campbell is going to try and gain on both of them as well. So the QVR man is going to try and get on the XL boys, who are running side by side towards the com. Well. Neo on the inside line. Izza's going side by side as well with Campbell. Nearly 2x2 Noah's Ark formation. Lovely stuff though, and Neo holds on from Rocco. Campbell holds on from Izza, and in the end, no moves happening.
Yeah, I don't think they're on
actually,
and Peace pass. As Izza is losing it almost, I think. But he can regain the position as Jensen is running wide, and the outside doesn't quite work.
No way. No.
Risky on the inside. No, he's not going to make that work. But yeah, coming back to Jerome, he got overtaken before the line by Peace and Booter. Obviously he's on a slow set of tyres, but still, that's not quite legal. So I have to see if anyone gets reported. Probably not, because the rail guys aren't allowed to do that. But Verstappen once again looking quick. Surprised he didn't pit, because he would have only lost 1 position and gotten 6 lap better tyres. But he moves on. Connor already 1.6 seconds out of Nathan. Nathan probably also thinking about selling his PlayStation right now. But we'll see after the race what he says about that. Looking still a bit wet, and Jerome 12 seconds behind, so his plan definitely didn't go
Yeah, definitely not. Still into Z on track, and your own, I think, will probably retire, come into the pit lane, to be honest, because there's no perceivable hope, unless it's a safety car and decide to stay on the stars, there's no perceivable hope, I think, of him actually winning this race towards the end. Connor, though, fastest lap of the race, 53.4, considerably quicker than what we had in the past. Nathan, 1.6 seconds behind. Packer there in third, Yilbrim there in fourth, then it's Neo in fifth, Rocco in sixth, Campbell in seventh, Izra in eighth, Jensen in ninth, as I begin to see the first signs of sun possibly coming through the circuit there down towards the source at turn 1. Jensen, though, on the back of Izza, coming down towards the Rouge and Radion, and we'll see what the AlphaTauri can do on the back of Izza, and he takes it flat out, and he's going to get a phenomenal run coming through a Rouge and Radion, on the run now towards the Camels. Right, I think Rocco's going to attack Neo just in the foreground of shot as well, but we're on board with Jensen on the back of Izza to the outside line. Neo doesn't keeps the move there, and now Jensen on the outside line doesn't get the move done. He could perhaps get the outside line coming out of Le Corps towards Bruxelles, but he's not going to get the move done, or is he? He's going to lunge it to the inside line. Jensen down the inside line. The sun is beginning to come out, possibly out on track. The rain is stopping, and Jensen to the outside line, coming through No Name. He's not going to think about going around the outside here. Izza gives him room, and Jensen around the outside, and look at Justas as well, and behind him, he's in the wall. And Izza's into the wall as well. That's surely a safety car. Justas off into the wall. Right side end plate damage, and that all spawned from Jensen getting that move around the outside. To be fair, Izza gave him the room. Izza got forced onto the curb himself. He gave him too much room. Came across on Justas, didn't realise Justas was there. That's why we saw the crash, and that's why we saw Izza out of the race as well. And Justas for the championship, more importantly, he's going to be well out of contention now, and he's going to be outside of the points.
Yeah, and no safety car deployed to save him. And that would have made things awkward with the wet and dry tyres if people would gamble or not. Nathan absolutely struggling. It looks like he's not even got a front wing, less than Justas. Just understeers everywhere.
Rain stopped. I think the rain has stopped out on track as well. It has. So the rain has stopped. Jeroen was predicting this. Neo is into the pit lane, and this track does dry quick. Neo with a big gamble here into the pit lane. We'll see if he's going to come onto it. I would assume it's going to be a set of soft compound of tyres. Red wall tyres are going to go on the car, and Neo is in for a set of softs. That is a big, big gamble for Neo into the pit lane. Justas also into the pit lane after that front wing damage. Jeroen, he's probably going to be lapping this up now. He's on a set of mediums, and he's going to be, obviously, with the track drying, he's going to be passing drivers like no tomorrow, possibly. But Neo, out of the pit lane, set of softs. I think it's too early, possibly, but track around a 7-kilometre circuit here in Belgium. One track it could be wet, one lap it could be wet, the next it could be dry, and that is the nature of the track. It dries so quick around here.
Yeah, Neo with the penalty.
Oh, Neo spun! Neo's into the wall. Just about keeps it out of the wall.
Oh, has he got damage?
No, don't think he does.
Don't think, yeah. So he got away with it, but just shows. Tries are possible, but they're so sketchy. Jeroen, though, looking quite quick. Well, we have to see how that develops. But yeah, now people are going to gamble. Justas obviously has no choice other than to gamble. And Neo with the penalty, yeah, why not just go for it? Rock also got a penalty, so... Yeah, interesting things happening. And now it's about who's blinking next. Ooh. And Nathan! Obviously bottoming once again. You have to feel with him. But he's still up for a net P4, so that's not too bad right now. So is any of the top guys gonna pit? Doubt it.
Don't think they will.
Neo is gaining. Neo's gaining.
No, there's too much spray out on track. Coming through the final sector, I'm aboard Packer, and there's too much spray. Simply, I think next lap around is probably going to be the best time to come in. As actually Connor comes into the pit lane. Connor is in. Nathan is in. Packer's in. Everyone's coming in. And Rocco, obviously, with Campbell, Jensen, everyone is coming into the pit.
No one is gambling. How? How are all the people pitting? Oh, I would have stayed out one
It's a lap too early. It's a lap too early.
I mean,
actually, no, it's not. DRS is enabled. That's perfect, actually, from all of them.
Yeah, it still looks quite wet, though, but I think the Winters would have made one more lap without suffering too much, as Neo almost losing it again in Blanchimont. Can't watch that. But, yeah, as people glitch and goes inside each other in the pit lane, let's see how that plays out. Verstappen and of Dylan. I think that just sorted itself out there, but yeah, everyone for the same strategy. A bit boring, but now we should see the battles. Packer not risking too much. He's lost quite a bit to Nathan.
And I think Connor's just had a major moment as well, coming through a Rouge and Radion, because he's just lost a second to Nathan, coming through that series of corners alone. And Nathan, on that sort of soft compound tyres. He looks more homed in, I've got to say, on those softs. It's not over and done with until the fat lady sings. Connor leads the way, Nathan in second, Packer in third, Yulbeam in fourth, Rocco in fifth, Campbell in sixth, Jensen in seventh. Jensen has got a good chance, and actually I think Jensen has been undercut by Campbell in the pit lane. Campbell has jumped ahead of Jensen, so he's thrown he's into sixth. Jensen now down into seventh. Campbell, slowly but surely, with Rocco obviously got a penalty ahead of him, he's going to be in P5 if he doesn't pick up any penalties. And Campbell at the minute is going to be taking chunks out of Justas, who's right down the back of the field and has got no perceivable chance, unless it's a safety car, no perceivable chance of actually getting any points tonight.
Yeah, those are the pad conditions everyone is dreaming of. Nathan absolutely sending it. Packer lost 2 seconds now, and also Connor's lost 2 seconds. I think Connor just took it really carefully through all the corners, as Nathan is just sending it with nothing to lose. Look at his DRS, he's used it all up this lap. He's trying to get inside the DRS of Connor, and looking like he might get inside. Yeah, he's got it. He's got it. Ran out of DRS though, so might lose it again, but what a lap from Nathan.
Gets within that second, but he's out of the slipstream range, and that is going to be the real cause and effect, I think, for him. Jensen, by the way, was right on the back of Campbell coming out the final corner. The track has dried so quick compared to the last lap around. Connor leads the way, Nathan in second. It's now 9/10 the gap. Nathan is just within the DRS range, I think, but I'm going to watch on board with Jensen more immediately, because I think this is going to be a move for P6 between himself and Campbell. P's as well as Wouter is going to probably get the move done as well. We've seen drop time go by the wayside, and now Campbell has just made a slight mistake coming out of Rouge and Radion, and Jensen just slides on by, sails on by. Yilbrim also through, and Packer down and towards Lecombe gets the move done through, and he's into third. Just saw that at the end of that move. Wouter on P's as well. All of the moves that I expected to happen are happening. Connor leads the way. Nathan in second. Nathan's right on the back of him. Do you know what? I predicted him for P1. This is why I predicted him for P1. He's right on the back of Connor.
Yeah, but I want to see him get a 3-second gap to Connor within 7 laps time. But we have to see. Getting past is quite easy on this track if you just stay close in the last sector. But he's still got the penalty and the gap to Drurbane behind, so he's probably racing more for P2 as Jensen. Once again, making a mistake in the race, getting that penalty, and that can cost him. And Campbell, once again, looking like, by keeping it clean, he can get the top 5 here.
Justas right on the back of Jeroen, running down towards P1 as well. So, it looked a little bit wet, actually. Jeroen just kicked him a little bit of spray on the white line, I think, into the camera angle there of Justas in the POV shot, and Jeroen there in 13th, Justas in 14th to stay as they are, but right on board the other side of the track, Connor leads the way. Nathan in second. Nathan once again in that DRS range. Packer holds on to Yilbrim's DRS as well for third and fourth, but now Nathan perhaps going to have a look in. Fastest lap of the race. We're going to see lap time still improve even further. 46.8 from Yilbrim. Further down the field, we'll see a 45, I would think, as Justas is going side by side with Jeroen coming through Blanchon. Just missed that move slightly. Jeroen is on the back of him, though. I think Justas still got the move done. So Justas is doing it into 13th. Jeroen now down into 14th, and that is probably going to rage on as Nathan on the back of Connor. Not going to go for the move here. They've got to be careful as well. If Nathan gets enticed into a battle with Connor, Yilbrim is probably going to catch on as Connor's gone straight on.
Oh my god!
He's desynced. Yeah. He's desynced out on track. Connor has desynced completely. Has he just lost connection from the race? He has!
Oh my
Connor
god.
has lost connection from the race.
Way.
Unbelievable. Nathan now leads the way. Connor is going to be out of second position. And that is so unfortunate. His internet has provided him, I think, with some clarity, I think, this season. It's been really good all season. This happens around Belgium. It's always Belgium it happens. His AI is using up ERS, by the way, to try and defend off Yilbrim, which is quite funny. Yilbrim there in second, Connor there in second, Yilbrim in third. You have to feel sorry for Connor. And now, I think, hands Nathan perhaps a chance of this race on a silver platter. Yilbrim, though, watch out for him. I think he's just gonna, well, I think as he now rejoins, Connor has rejoined, and he could be behind Packer, I think, coming out of the final sector, as Yilbrim is through on Connor. Connor's there in third. If he takes control of his car out of turn one, I think he's going to be behind Packer, but for him, he's going to be in a DRS train, which I think is probably going to work. It's so unfortunate. Things like this happen, and it's just happened to Connor at the worst point of the race.
Yeah, but it's not over. If he can stay with Packer and Drurbane, he still has a shot at the victory. Never count him out with that. Just needs to take control right now, otherwise he's in trouble. Is he going to take control? Not yet. Maybe he has got the glitch that he can't. He has to rejoin
No,
again.
there we go.
He's taking control. There we go. So now he needs to make the move from Packer this lap or never, and then get to the back of Chulbeam, and the win is still on. But yeah, what a shame that can be championship costing. Yeah.
He just looks like his rhythm has just completely gone. Obviously, since rejoining there, even through a Rouge and Rally on, he has to get back into the lobby really quickly there. And even through there, you could tell he's just off now, coming through Les Combes. And it's almost as if it's just hit him. Like that. It's just hit him with a ton of bricks. He possibly could still be on for the race win, but it's all dependent on Nathan's pace. Nathan, I think, the gap is coming down between himself and Yulbrim as Dylan's off the track, coming through, that is Les Combes. Yeah, just off the exit of Les Combes. And Dylan didn't think he into the wall, but he's reached right in front of Neo. And that's the worst place you can possibly join in front of a driver. And I think, hopefully, Dylan is going to get out of the way here of Neo, and Neo actually gets the move done. Fair play, Neo gets the move done, he's through into 11th.
Yeah, and Campbell has absolutely no pace. He's got overtaken by Wouter, I think, and he's dropped out of the DRS of Jensen earlier on as well. So Campbell, I don't know what his problem is, if he has a side pod damage or something, but his pace is absolutely shocking at the moment. So, and Josa's still up for points. He needs to get whatever he can get. I hope the gaps sort themselves out for me, because I still don't have any deltas. Probably when they cross the line. But now
3 seconds, I think.
On. Yeah, to quote Bradley Walsh, the chase is on for Connor.
Chase is on for Yulbrim as well. He's only 3.2 seconds behind Nathan. He needs to pick up the pace, though. I think he should let Packer through ahead of him. Packer will then try and gain on Yulbrim, but it's all dependent on Yulbrim if he's got the pace to try and close in. Nathan leading the way. Yulbrim in second, Packer in third. No matter how you look at this race now, as Dylan desync there for me on slightly, went 16 laps for him. Nathan leads the way, though. Yulbrim in second, Packer there in third, Connor there in fourth. Packer's closing on the back of Packer, but he's not going to get the move done, and Jensen closing on the back of Rocco, sails past him to the inside line, in toward Les Combes, through turn 5, gets the job done. So Jensen through and he's into 5th, Rocco there down into 6th, they've all got penalties. There are the penalties, by the way, if you're wondering. Nathan, Jensen, Rocco, Wouter, Neo and your own, all on 3 seconds penalties. Everyone else is fine at this moment in time, of course. At this moment, we can't discount anything out on this race. Nathan leading the way, Yulbrim in second, Packer in third, Jake coming into the comment section saying, come on Packer, he's got a good chance of potentially picking up a race win. He just needs to stay in behind Yulbrim. Yulbrim has got pace. It's quite stagnant though between Nathan and Yulbrim. And the German has got to think about now putting in laps that he has never done in his life before to get this race win. Because otherwise, it's all going Nathan's way and it's been handed to him on a silver platter.
Yeah, I love these races where it comes back to the right. You just have to push as hard as you ever can, because it just matters every single tenth you can gain. Nathan low on ERS, Shurbeam, Packer, Connor with the most ERS, but the lowest top speed. So I think Connor is the quickest out of the group, but he can't really get past them as they're on the DRS train. But yeah, Nathan got 1 warning after this penalty, Shurbeam on 2 warnings, and Packer on 2 warnings. I'm not sure if there were collisions included in them, but yeah, Connor on 0 warnings, excluding the lag, of course. But yeah, it's looking like Nathan has the pace, but one mistake and Shurbeam has been in the 3 second gap once again.
And at the minute, Yulbrim 3.3 seconds. The sun beginning to burn through the clouds here in Belgium. Nathan leading the way. Yulbrim in second. Packer there in third. More immediately, I think we're going to get Rocco and Jensen once again. Down in toward Les Combes. The McLaren pulls to the outside line. Down the Camel straight. He gets the job done. And he's through and he's into 5th. Jensen there in 6th. Wouter there in 7th. Campbell and 8th. They're all filtered through and behind. Pease, who has not really shown much pace tonight, in 9th. He's still doing a good job. Dylan on the back of Neo running down the Camel straight as well. The Dutchman and the German going side by side. It's the Dutchman who races probably the Dutch flag there off the left hand side. He gets the move done and he's turning into 11th, of course, after his spin. Nathan, though, as I said last lap around, the gap is stagnant as Campbell has picked up a 3 second penalty now. That now brings Pease into a possible P5 position if he can still keep on to the back of these. Nathan, though, somehow is beginning to bring up the pace once again. 3.4 seconds, and I think this instruction is clear now to Yulbrim. You either catch me now, or you're not going to catch me at all.
Yeah, Nathan burning his ERS to the minimum now, so he might derate and struggle with that, as Shurbeam just saved up a little bit more. Again, Packer and Connor with it more as well, but they just can't get the moves done. And there's a huge gap behind, so it's just a private battle for P5 right now. and Pease, without penalties, might get himself up to P5, as he mentioned. So, yeah, it's still not finished, this race, and we've got 2 laps to go. And if anyone wants to make a move, it's time to make the move now. Truebeam derating, so now I think Packer and Connor will be hungry for that P2.
And here's Wouter on the back of Jensen and toward La Source at turn number 1. He absolutely sends it down the inside on the Alfa Romeo. Ruthless aggression, I think, in that move. Wouter gets the move done, surely. On the run down towards the Rouge and Radion, he does. Jensen latches in behind, and now they're going to get the run as Connor is now pacing on the back of Packer. Look at the straight line speed. Packer is going to be a sitting duck now, possibly on Connor. Yildirim is a sitting duck and straight wide in towards Lecombe. Packer tries to go all the way around the outside as contact. Connor on the outside line, Packer on the inside line. They went too quick into the corner, both of them. That corresponds into contact, and Packer is round, coming through P. He's still in P4 somehow. Packer across the coming through Lecombe. He's still in P4. Connor to me though on the outside line. Somebody was entitled to back out. They didn't. I don't think Packer was probably aware that Connor was even there until they actually got through the corner. That's why the contact happened. Yildirim now within a really good chance, and it just lets Nathan open for yet an open goal, I think, for this race win. He leads the way by 4 seconds now. Connor in second, Yildirim in third. And I think despite that contact, I have to say this brutally and honestly, Connor would have got that move done.
Yeah, it's just the thing with that 3-mile move. Packer probably doesn't know about Connor, and Connor doesn't know about Packer. Yeah. And then Packer has a weird angle, and Connor wants to go around the outside. So, might be a racing incident. Connor might pick up a couple of penalty points, you never know. But Truebeam now in the best positions, actually. I think Connor might concede the victory here and play some of the RS games with Truebeam to win this race.
And I tell you what, Campbell's right on the back of Wouter as well, coming into the bus stop chicane. The Mercedes is going to dive this down the inside line. This is a late send from Campbell. There's contact between the both. Wouter's head into a spin, and Campbell in the end I don't think should have gone for that move because there's contact, and that might get investigated by the stewards as well. Yildirim though on the back of Connor. Connor is now under significant pressure from the German in behind. Surely this is going to be an open goal move for Yildirim to the inside line. Connor's not going to really defend this, I don't think. Yildirim though has not got the straight line speed. He does now though with the DRS open, pulls alongside Connor, and he's through and he's into P2. And unless Nathan makes a mistake in these final 5 kilometres as Rocco goes side by side on the back of Packer and gets the move done, so Rocco now through and he's into 4th. Nathan leading the way, and without that, will he pick up another penalty? 3.9 seconds the gap.
One more warning and he's got another 3-second penalty, so I think the P2 is now all up to Blanchimont and Connor getting past him. And can Nathan just stay on track for once to get another victory on his name? But we have to see, there's no way they gain the 9/10, so he can just cruise to the line now. And if he doesn't run wide here or cut anything, he should be safe. Yeah, he's taking it really safely. So Connor a bit too far back from Truebeam, I think, to launch an attack. But if he gets the exit 7th, 10th, he needs to squeeze that battery as hard as he can. But I think he's too far away.
He is too far away, 6.5 tenths, unless he absolutely sends this down the inside line. He is closing in, 5 tenths, 4 tenths, possibly 3 tenths. He's way too far back, I think. But Nathan around the final corner, in the meantime, comes across the line to win the Belgian Grand Prix and take his 3rd win of the season, or 2nd win of the season, I think. Yildirim to the line, will finish in 2nd, Connor in 3rd, and he actually gets a penalty, I think. Jensen and Packer side by side. This is going to be a sprint to the line, and Packer just about gets him for 4th position in the end. Jensen there with that 3-second penalty late on, and also side by side as well between Wouter and the Alpine of Pease, who has ended up in 6th position. Good stuff from Pease. Nathan though takes the win. Yildirim in 2nd, Connor there in 3rd. Connor must have been awarded a 3-second penalty.
Like desync, I think. Yeah, I think it's desync because it's 2.4 seconds and he's lagged out. But it wouldn't have mattered, I think, because he was just behind Truebeam. But yeah, Jusas claims 1 point, if I'm not mistaken, which is something. And who's got the fastest lap? It is...
your own, because he's just stealing it. He's just stole it there.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the race over, and what a race that was.
What a race that was indeed. Driver of the day, all about the in-game fans as Pease. To be honest, slightly underwhelming, I've got to be honest, in terms of his pace last week compared to this week. And probably not my driver of the day. Maybe this man here, though, Nathan, to the top step of the podium. Fortuitous, I think, this win. He probably will recognise that as well in the interviews. But Nathan takes the race win here. if it wasn't for Connor's desync and Connor's lag out of the session, perhaps we could have seen Nathan v Connor, and it could have been very different, I think, towards the end of the race. But Nathan, regardless, takes the race win. It is another win this season for him. As I said, when of course he won a couple of weeks ago, retribution once again for Portugal, and he takes the win by 9/10 of a second in the end from Yieldbeam. Connor will finish in third. His timings will get updated. Whether or not there's a penalty coming his way, though, with the incident with Packer remains to be seen. In the end, though, does it really matter? Because they finished third and fourth, and Packer, for me, probably the less fortuitous one, let's say, out of the two, and he finishes in fourth. Rocco there in fifth, Pease there in sixth, Jensen in seventh, Campbell in eighth, Verstappen in ninth, Mercedes outscoring Ferrari in terms of the constructors as well. Reuter there in 10th, Dillon in 11th, Justas in 12th, picking up 1 point. 1 point. But in the end, he still has more than a race wins advantage over Campbell. Justus there in 12th, Neo 13th, Jeroen in 14th. He picked up the fastest that point as well. Izza, Marine, Fleddy, and of course Rudy, who didn't even bother to turn up at the end of the qualifying session, and indeed in the race as well. He finishes and got disqualified down in 18th position. Great race though in here in Belgium. Shall we try and get the top 3 in?
Yes, I'm trying to get the top 3 in. Let's see what they say about this quite unusual race. PlayStation had an update, so I'm absolutely confused.
Yeah, I think I'm not sure if you have to set up a different party or something. I think you can just add them. It's the open and close party settings. I think it's a bit stupid, to be honest. The PlayStation. If anybody's listening from PlayStation, there's my comments there. But brilliant racing, of course, here. Nathan, again, as I say, bit fortuitous in terms of the win. I think he deserved it, though, right at the end. And in the end, my prediction was right.
Was it?
It was, because I said Nathan for P1.
Yeah, okay, 1/3 of your prediction.
Never know, Connor might get second if he didn't desync out of that. It could have been completely different. I mean, we put Campbell for third, and look where he ended up. So, yeah, not on for both of us, I think.
Yeah, but close enough. At least you got it kind of right, but I got the real winner right. But Mr. Unlucky once again delivering with a disconnect. So I still don't know why he hasn't changed his internet provider, but we'll probably ask him that.
It's always good to Ethernet, I think. Ethernet is the way, I think, for Connor's Wi-Fi, possibly going forward. So and hopefully that might be the case. Looking through, by the way, on Twitter, I was trying to get something up to date about the Formula 1 and see if there's an update about Mick Schumacher. Don't think there is at this point. I will have a look, though, and see if there is anything. But looking at his Twitter, there's certainly not been any updates, and Haas, I think, haven't put out an update either.
Yeah, and just going back to the Ethernet thing, I think Connor should ask Packer, because he should have decent Ethernet. No?
That's terrible. That's terrible. I hope Nathan didn't hear that coming into the commentary box there.
I don't know what I heard.
Good. You didn't hear anything. You didn't hear a bad pun coming from Montana there at all.
I will watch it back on the stream, it's fine.
You will watch it back on the stream, and I think people will probably shake their heads at that point. But of course, it is Nathan taking the race win here. As I said in commentary there, slightly fortuitous, I think, with Connor's pace, obviously. He had the upper hand completely, I think, in that race. In the end, though, you kept it to track, you kept the win, and pretty much deserved it in the end.
Yeah, obviously it's a really surprising win, because I mean, as soon as we put the softs on, it was just a case of just stay behind Connor. For some reason, I had really good pace as soon as we put the softs on. I know Packer was struggling, and I think Connor initially was struggling, so that kind of allowed me to get in DRS. But yeah, it was obviously just a case of just trying to stay in the DRS and get dragged along, because I think the straight line speed, because I was running, I changed from 5.2 wings to 6.3, so the straight line was always not an issue. It was just a case of sector 2 and pad is interesting, but luckily the pad traction in the wet worked very nicely, so we was able to just keep it nice and consistent.
Kept it nice and consistent, but in that first stint, before that safety car came out, you were, what, 6 seconds, I think, behind Connor, and that, I think, was down to obviously more of a wet setup coming from the AlphaTauri's perspective. Did you feel that you would have the pace second later on in the race if it was to dry up? Because we were very unsure if it was going to dry up towards the end.
Yeah, obviously when me and Neo looked at the weather, it was a case of there was like two blocks at the end, which normally means you will get some, but it's kind of a case of it will always be in like the last quarter of the race. But yeah, obviously it was helped a lot by the safety car. I think without that, like, it would have just been a case of just trying to fight for the podium, especially with the 3-second pen at the end. But yeah, it was. Obviously, I saw from quali, like, Sector 1 and 3, like, Connor was a bit slower, so that kind of gave the idea of a, like, a more heavy downforce setup, rather than, like, adjusted to straight line speed. So, yeah, like, as soon as we put the softs on, it was a case of just trying to stick as close as possible in Sector 2, and then just use everything in Sector 1 and 3 to, like, gain up all the time.
Yeah, definitely. So you move into 4th in the championship as well. Obviously, you're, I think, 9 points behind Connor going into the next race, obviously, in the Netherlands. How do you prepare for that? Because, obviously, I will say this now, you are the top pad driver currently in LOE Division 1.
Well, yeah, Zandvoort is very pad ABS heavy, so yeah, maybe double wins, but I think we just aim for the podium, and then we'll see, like, situation based, because obviously dual beams really been really good this season. His quality pace has been like as strong. Dylan, I know, obviously he runs pad ABS as well, so he should be up there. And yeah, hopefully it should be a good race, but obviously Zandvoort is just a case of trains, really. There's not really that much overtaking, so it'll be more to do with strategy, and hopefully it's not wet like last season, because that was, yeah, interesting.
Yeah, Zandvoort, at the end of the day, you don't want to be causing a safety car like I did in LOE Formula 2 cars, but there we are. Montana, I haven't forgot about you, by the way. Any questions?
Yeah, first of all, I have to think about your title, Nathan. The most undeserved win getter of every single LOE race.
Portimao is it?
Yeah, Portimao is the most undeserved one, but no, you still drove a great race and you got a penalty and got away with that somehow. But for me, the standout thing for that victory was your outlap on the dry tires. Like, what on earth were you thinking? And we absolutely sent it with no shame on that lap.
Yeah, I was a bit, because I know I got to the end of, well, obviously we got Sector 3 and I saw it had some shot of getting DRS, which through Sector 1 and 2, I mean, it seemed to just dry up pretty quickly. Like, Neo pit a lap earlier to see if he could, like, get any places, obviously spun. And as soon as we put the softs on, they just, like, lit up perfectly. I don't know if it was maybe because of, like, higher tyre pressures, but they just lit up perfectly, and obviously Connor and Packer, and I think Jawbream struggled as well, so it was just a case of just sending it as hard as possible.
Yeah, and so you've got a couple of wins this season, maybe you get a deserved one later on, but do you see yourself still in the hunt for the championship, maybe with an outsider chance, if people keep disconnecting, making mistakes, getting taken out by Asa, or how do you see yourself there?
Well, there's enough pad ABS tracks left, so maybe, but it's gonna need, like, another race like today, where Justas is in the thick of things. But yeah, I mean, end of the day, just try and fight for wins, and if we come to the final 3 races and still win a shot, then maybe we change up, like, how we approach races. But for now, it's just trying to aim for wins or podiums.
Any cheeky REL strats coming when you get closer to the title fight? Or?
We'll have to see.
Alrighty. Yeah, congrats again on that victory. And probably we'll speak to you sometime this season when the ship breaks loose again. But yeah, enjoy your evening and see you soon.
Thank you both for comms.
No worries, love you.
Very welcome indeed, and now we'll of course move on to the man who I think unfortuitously finished in P3. It is of course Connor, and Connor, for around 80% of that race, you had that race under complete and utter control. It was very dominant, and then the internet decided to let you down. Talk us through what you were thinking at that point, because immediately after you rejoined, it just seemed like you were out of your rhythm and out of your step, because until that point you were very dominant.
Well, for once, it wasn't actually internet, it was the game. The game crashed.
Oh.
So, just had to wait for it all to sort itself up and load up and all that shit. And obviously, the AI does the AI thing and burns all my battery, so I had nothing left to overtake, so I had to sit behind for a few laps to save up the battery and then go for my move. But yeah, not great.
Not great at all. Obviously, I think more races will probably come your way. But talk us through that first part of the race, because, as I said to Nathan there, you were 6 seconds up the road to Nathan, and then that safety car came out. What were you thinking when that safety car came out?
It was fine. Just back everyone up. I knew I had the pace, so as long as I didn't mess up the restart, I backed myself to be able to pull away and just time when best time to go on inters was, which I think was maybe a lap too late or maybe their best lap. And then just waiting for the soft lap when to pit, which I think nailed that. Yeah, don't really think I could have done much more. Maybe sit behind dual ring, save the battery, and maybe would have got P2, but I was going after Nathan, but I didn't quite have the pace. I think he was really quick on the straights. Because my setup was not a dry setup, not a wet setup, it was sort of in between. It was like 7-7 winds, so helped me in the wet, but didn't help in the dry.
Helped in the wet, but didn't help in that drop. That's interesting, because we were guaranteed 100% that you were on a wet setup, so that's very interesting to hear. Obviously, talk us through that incident as well between you, Packer, and Yildirim, because you went 3 wide in towards Lake Orm, pretty much like the partner of the Red Sea. Yildirim then went in behind. It was a case, I think, of Packer and you weren't aware of each other, and just an incident that easily probably could have been avoided.
Did we make contact, or did he just spit on the curb?
I think there was a bit of contact.
I didn't think there was contact.
On our camera angle, you were on the inside line. You were on the outside line. Sorry, Packer was on the inside line. You both pretty much funneled around Yildirim in towards Lake Orm, and Packer was there on the inside line. You were there on the outside line, and just came together.
Oh, right. I didn't feel any contact, so I'm not sure about that. I just assumed it would be on the curb on the inside, because that's just death if you go anywhere near that. So the outside line is always the one I'd go for. But yeah, I didn't think I made any contact, but I guess that means another crazy penalty's coming in.
Yeah, to us certainly it looked like a racing incident, I think, judging by just the pure speed going into the corner, certainly. Hopefully it'll get the judge the right way, otherwise I'll be coming to rant next week at the start of the stream. Montana, any questions?
Yeah, first of all, I'm so sorry, Connor, for that thing once again. Can't seem to catch a break, but that should leave you some luck over for the rest of the season. On the last lap, were you trying to think about catching up to Nathan's penalty range? Or why did you decide to be the car ahead going into the final lap and don't defend into the comp?
Well, I didn't have enough battery to defend on the straight, so I knew Yildirim was low on battery, so I would just let him go past and overtake him into the last corner. But I was sort of half on the curb and the Penya chicane and lost the rear, so that was my chance gone. So I think I would have got him if I didn't make that mistake, but yeah, I think the wings were maybe a bit too high to make up the difference, so just had to settle for P3. At least I gained some points in the championship, but not as many as it should have been.
Yeah, but what about Sanford coming up? I know that a certain assist is quite decent around there, so are you turning ABS on for that one, maybe?
No, I can't be doing that. Well, we'll see how fast it is. No. No, just have to get the laps in. Paces, I think, was decent there last season, or last game, whenever it was I drove it. So yeah, if I just get the laps in, I think I can have a decent result. Find a setup which doesn't kill me, and yeah, we go from there. Hopefully have a clean race. No disconnects, no game crashes, no collisions, and hopefully it should be good.
Yeah, hoping for that, because you're still definitely in that championship, and you're just losing a lot of points. And you lost 14 points to you today, if my maths are fine.
How far was he ahead? Like 80? 70? something like that.
49 was, and the gap is 35, so 14 points.
What, for me?
Yeah?
Oh.
Isn't that
Oh, sorry, no. Sorry, it's 60 points, I should say. I'm looking at the gap between Campbell and Justas. Sorry to just give you more points than what you have at the minute. It's 60 points between you and Justas, and I think it was around just over 80 points, I think, if I'm not mistaken, or just under 80 points, so not too bad.
Yeah, so now it's actually 60 points, and Campbell's still in between. And how many races? 7 races to go. So just win every race, and then it's gonna be close. I can't do the math yet, but yeah, you're still in that fight.
Still useless to lose. Yeah.
Still useless to lose, but the pressure is getting to him now, and I hope you have a better race next time.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for the invite, by the way. Made it a bit better.
Did you not have any?
No. I did have an invite, but it came up at the right time, so I didn't have to fuck about in the settings and wait for it to sort itself out. Yeah.
Did you also see my message? My strategic message?
I did under safety car, so not under safety car. Later on after I pit, so.
Oh, okay.
It would have been nice if I saw it. Yeah, I got notifications off, so it doesn't distract me.
Ah, I see. Yeah, you're a very popular guy, aren't you?
Unfortunately.
All right. Better luck next time, mate. You'll get them. You'll get them. Speak to you.
Yeah.
And that is the interview. Big thank you, of course, to Nathan and to Connor for joining the party. As always, fantastic race, of course, here in Belgium. And to confirm about that points gap between Justas and Connor, it was 74 points coming into tonight. It's now 60 points between them both. So basically, Justas has still got more than a race wins advantage over Campbell and more than a race wins advantage over Connor. Nearly a 2-race advantage even over Connor going into next week in Zandvoort. But that is the end of tonight, of course. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, like, comment, subscribe, tick that notification bell, of course, if you are new. In roughly 8 minutes time, Division 2 and Division 5 are going to be going live very soon indeed, so be tuned in for that one. Hopefully there'll be more viewers actually at the start of their streams like one we had, of course, in Division 1, considering real life qualifying was still going on. Montana, I'm going to come across to you though. Final thoughts and overall driver of the day.
Well, difficult one. I think driver of the day, Nathan and Connor both equally. Thoughts on the race, yeah, a bit chaotic, a bit confusing, but interesting for us in the championship matters because you just lost points, so gonna get closer, and closer is always better.
Yeah, definitely. So it is going to get a lot closer. Zandvoort, of course, is going to be one of the moves, I think, and one of the races where obviously moves are probably going to happen down in towards turn 1 and probably nowhere else out on the track. So be prepared for possibly a boring race next week in Zandvoort. I'll come back and probably say it's going to be race of the season next week, though. But brilliant racing, of course, here. That is the end from us. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.
Goodbye.